Hello and good morning. I'm Mr. Anderson, Superintendent of Elko County School District, and this is the first of what I hope to be a long series of videos. Recently, I've been hearing feedback from people about, they weren't able to watch a board meeting, or their kid had a game and they wish they could have seen it, or they're just having a hard time keeping up to date on what we're doing in our school board meetings. And so I thought about ways that I could give a summary to people of what happened without having to, sometimes those meetings can be pretty lengthy. I think last week's was somewhere around 5 hours long, and so that's a long time to watch a video just to catch up on something. But a way that I could summarize these business items for you, so you are aware of the happenings in our school district, and kind of stole an idea from another superintendent that I know, and I'm going to adapt it a little bit to this. So I'm going to give you a summary, but instead of typing something out that takes a long time on my end and also takes a lot of effort on your end to read, hopefully just a short video synopsis of what happened in our board meeting. So we're going to give it a go here today, and hopefully hopefully it all makes sense to you. So we started our meeting, normal opening procedures, but we usually start our meetings with presentations and recognitions, with typically student-oriented ones, and get our meeting started off on the right tone. So yesterday at our board meeting, we first recognized our student board member. We always have a student board member at our table, and his name was Esteban Perez, and he's from Elko High School. Excellent young student of ours, and it was good to have him there with us. We also recognized our two March Stars recipients, and those were Millie Tinkering, a preschool teacher over at Southside Elementary, and then Mrs. Sheila Smales, who is the counselor at Northside Elementary. So congratulations to both of them on being our Stars Award recipients for this month. We were then able to honor and recognize the Elko High School boys basketball team. They were region champs and then also state runners-up this year for the basketball season. So big congratulations to the Elko High School boys basketball team. It was great to have what appeared to be either the whole team or 90-something% of the team. They were all there, and it was great to recognize them and the coaches for all their hard work this season. We were then blessed with a couple of songs from the Mountain View Elementary Choir. A lot of kids packed in the boardroom to sing to us. They sang two songs. One was a baseball themed one, apropos as we were in spring training for baseball and entering the baseball season. And then they also sang one about how they are the children of the world and of the future. And it was heartwarming, and really appreciate them and their willingness to come, and all the parents. That room was packed with parents of kids and siblings, and it was just wonderful to hear from them. So thank you to Mountain View Elementary Choir for brightening the tone of our meeting yesterday. After some input from the public, we then went into we had 9 business items in our board meeting yesterday. The first was the approval of an interlocal agreement between the Nevada Department of Wildlife and the school district. And that is a partnership where schools, ag programs, right now it's primarily the Wells Ag program, but other schools' ag programs are welcome to participate. But those ag programs can grow seedlings for sagebrush, and then the Nevada Department of Wildlife then pays to get those from us, and they go plant them, and it's excellent real world application of agriculture, what they're learning in the classroom. And so it was to solidify a partnership that has existed for a few years now, but kind of formalize that agreement. And so just a great opportunity to partner with the Nevada Department of Wildlife, and we're very grateful for their partnership and for supporting our students. And great job to the Wells Ag program for kind of pioneering that, and certainly encourage other schools who have the capacity to do that to do that. And from talking to Mr. Norda, the ag teacher out in Wells, it sounds like there's even space for not just high school ag programs, but even some elementary classes to be able to get involved in this somehow. So if there is some interest, please feel free to reach out to me. I didn't ask Mr. Norda if I could do this, but you could certainly email Don Norda, and he would probably be able to point you in the right direction. But any way we can get our kids more involved in that would be amazing. So that was 2.01. 2.02 was the receipt and review and approval of the spring incentive grant application. So every year, our district budgets a certain amount of money to be able to provide matching incentive grants for projects at schools, and that's for all of our schools. And every year, every school is eligible for $5,000 of matching grant. Now that school, it has to be, the grant has to be, the application has to be filled out by a school employee. So please work with your administrator if you think there is a certain grant that you might be looking for matching funds for, so you can do a project at your campus. But every school gets one of those per year, and if it's a combined school, they get one per semester. So the cycle for this school year, the 22-23 school year, is completed. There was already one in the fall, and this was the spring one. So as you look forward to next year, maybe some projects that you think could use some of those extra funds, just work in conjunction with your administrators at your school, and we would love to be able to utilize all those funds we set aside. We don't ever have every school do it every year, so it'd be really great if we could have that happen. So keep those in mind as you think about important projects at your school. The next item was 2.03, which was a resolution to commit a portion of the general fund balance for the purchase of school buses. And kind of a real quick synopsis of what that means is our school districts are funded for transportation based on how much money we've spent over the past 4 years on school buses. And the reality is, for us, we've only started doing that the last 2 years. So the 2 years prior, we spent no money on school buses. And so then what that means is the average amount of money we're going to get to buy school buses is smaller because we have spent less on it. So our plan is to have a 16-year rotation of school buses so that we don't have an aging fleet. Typically, a school bus is good for about 15 to 16 years, and then it starts to get pretty old and beaten up and broken down. And right now we have buses as old as 23 and 24 years. So the idea is, as we continue to be diligent about doing this and putting that money aside, we will then get funded appropriately for that, and then we will have a better fleet of buses. So the school board did approve that, and we're going to continue to make that a priority to ensure that we're properly funded from a transportation standpoint. 2.04 was an approval of changes to policy IHC. That was a policy that we presented last meeting, and so at this meeting it was approved. Kind of two main highlights of what we did with that policy was, number one, we kind of formalized the fact that we don't do recognitions of valedictorian, salutatorian, all that. The way transcripts work now and the way colleges receive those transcripts now is more about class ranking. So we kind of formalized that language. And then the other main piece about that was the concept of if a student fails a class, they would have that failing grade that goes against their GPA. And then even if they took that class again, they would still have that failing grade negatively impacting their GPA. Well, now a student is able to, when they retake that class, the F still remains on their transcript, but it doesn't negatively impact their GPA. It gets that grade gets replaced with the new grade from when they took the class the second time. So knowing that grades are supposed to reflect mastery of content, if a student does not demonstrate mastery the first time, but then the next time does demonstrate that mastery, that now accurately reflects what their level of mastery and knowledge is, and their GPA reflects that as well. This is not something groundbreaking that we're doing, to be perfectly honest. The vast majority of our school districts in Nevada are doing this. Colleges do this as well. And because we weren't doing it, it kind of put our kids at a disadvantage when competing with other kids for scholarships, for college applications, that sort of thing. So they're kind of on the same level playing field as their peers across the state. So we were happy to be able to do that. 2.05 was the approval of a new policy, IEE, which deals with release time. So there have been various opportunities for release time over the years, but no policy to govern that. So this policy, and I'm not going to remember all the things off the top of my head, but it includes release time for religious instruction. It includes release time for internships, for work release, for dual credit enrollment, maybe off-site. So these are these are opportunities where a student could leave school to go participate in these other learning opportunities. And so just some language to govern that. And a very significant importance is we want to make sure everyone knows that we know and highly prioritize the instruction in the classroom first. All of the language within that policy, leaves a lot of discretion up to the administration to make sure it is in the best interest of the student. And then it also prioritizes that none of those things can be done unless a student is 100% on target to graduate. So we prioritize that first, and then for students who are excelling and who are in a good spot, there is now this extra opportunity because of their demonstrated success in the classroom. So that is IEE. 2.06 was a approval of some changes to BD/BDA. This is a policy that deals with the board meetings that we hold. Up until this point, and I guess through the rest of the school year, our school district has done school board meetings on the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month, with meetings starting at 5:30, and we're going to make a change to that starting in July of 23 of this year. We're no longer going to be on the second and fourth Tuesdays. We're going to move to the first and third Tuesdays, and that is to not conflict with city council meetings and just allow our board members and the public to be able to be as involved as they want and not have to pick and choose between which way they want to be involved. So that's kind of a quick little summary of that. 2.07 sorry, I lost my space here, changes to policy EDCB. This is a transportation management bus conduct policy. And basically that was to comply with NRS. There's an NRS that states that we must have a policy that kind of explains that out. And we did have a policy, but the policy just said, please see this other policy. And so we kind of fleshed that language out a little bit, and it's about just more how we keep kids safe on buses and how the bus conduct flows from the bus driver to the site administrators and sort of what people's roles are in those different scenarios. 2.08 was a first kind of presentation of changes to a policy IHA, which is our academic achievement grading system. And we didn't make any substantive changes to this particular policy because this policy is more or less formed by committee. We make sure to involve teachers from all grade levels and across the district in this policy. But what we did was a minor change, and that was that policy, like every year we had to update it to say what percentage of a high school student's grade an EOC would constitute, because the state changed that every year over the last 4 to 6 years. I think it's the percent has changed every year. And so we just changed language to say, the EOC's value will be whatever the state assigns as the value every year. So that's all we did with that one. And that one will be back again next meeting because we do first presentations of policies at one meeting, and then the next meeting we bring it back for potential action. And then the last bit of business was a quarterly update. We get quarterly updates from all our departments. So at this particular meeting, we had an update from Stephen Smith for the facilities and construction projects that we have going on. And so we do have an attachment for that I'll reference here in a minute. But he gave us just a good overview of where we are with projects that have been approved, what we're looking at here in the near future, and then a little farther down the line what plans are at this point. And then after Stephen gave his update, we got an update from our IT department, and that was Mac Robinson who gave us that update. And very similar to what Stephen did, Matt gave us an update on how we're doing with our one-to-one and our fiber projects and the way we're going to just keep our network doing great, along with some excellent news for some of our more remote locations that are going to be able to get better fiber connectivity here in the near future. So regarding those attachments and really all the other items I mentioned, we almost always have an attachment to go with everything. And while I can't share those all with you here, along with this video, wherever you've found this video, our excellent communication specialist, Kayla, is going to post a link to yesterday's board meeting agenda, and along with that link, you will be able to find all the relevant attachments that go along with this. After our business items, we did have kind of some routine reports from board members, from me. There was a consent agenda. I'm not going to get into all the details of that. That would be a much lengthier recap, but feel free to, in addition to viewing this video, if you ever want to learn more and maybe hear a more in-depth discussion of what happened, we also do post we have these board meeting recordings on YouTube, and you can always view the board meeting in its entirety. I hope that this summary was helpful for you, and as always, if you have any questions or you're looking for further insight on this, we have excellent people up here at our central office who are very knowledgeable in all their individual departments, and we're always more than happy and willing to discuss these matters with public, with staff, with students, with anyone. And really appreciate you being involved in our school district and the happenings that we have going on here in Elko County School District. Have a great day.